Madam Minister, we are very happy, the attendants and the participants of the Health Tech Investor Day and EIT Health as well, are very happy to welcome you today. Let me very shortly recall what I remember about my own appointment as minister long years ago. When I told to my best friend I am appointed as industry minister, he said to me, "I pity you. You will be definitively the specialist of restructuring, the specialist of layoffs, the specialist of decreasing manufacturing industries." It wasn't the case, and it is not the case for you. I don't pity you. I congratulate you for a recent re-nomination, reappointment as a Minister for Industry. Because in France and in Europe, we are all European here, we know how important, how key are those industries that rely on investment, innovation, R&D, and cooperation between labs, dynamic worldwide companies, and between research and the world of industry. So today, your welcome, our welcome for you is in form of a kind of hope we could enhance the very creative boost you continue with the government, and it was confirmed by the President of the Republic a few minutes ago. You continue to boost and to give us the impetus necessary to demonstrate that our companies, our industries, are capable to fight and to win in a very harsh competition in the world. Thank you for your coming. You know that we are very sensible about taxation, and I'm sure that the recent project of budget will satisfy our sometimes angry attitude against the level of the taxation in our companies. Thank you, Minister, for coming. Thank you very much, very much.
So thank you very much, Christian, for your welcome. I wouldn't say that there is no restructuring at all at the Ministry of Industry, because it will be not totally true, but as you mentioned, we really want to redevelop production in France, and we believe that there is a momentum for that in Europe. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very honored to be closing this first day of the Health Tech Innovations Days. This event is very important to foster collaborations within the European healthcare and innovation ecosystems. And this sector is clearly, and I suppose that President Macron mentioned it in his video, a top priority of our government. This was true before the COVID, but it is all the more true now within the COVID situation. Our objective is to work with you to build a more competitive, I would say, and innovative health tech ecosystem in France. But we believe that we have to build it also in Europe, and I know that Thierry Breton shares his views with you. And I know he's very ambitious for Europe, and I think he has the right level of vision, and that this is our moment if we want to play with the big guys in the 10 coming years. As you know, the President of the French Republic has put health industry on top of the agenda since 2017. In France, this ecosystem is made of more than 270 industrial sites, 450 biotechs, 6 centers of competitiveness, nearly 100,000 jobs. And it is the 5th world market, the 2nd in Europe after Germany. The world of health research in France is also rich, from INSERM to CHU, the Hospitalo-Universitary Hospitals Centers, with a lot of public-private partnerships and very high-level, very competitive ecosystems. We want to help health tech companies from the development of their innovation to the market, to the go-to-market, to the market authorization in France. In the Strategic Council for Health Industries, and you can remember that it was organized in July 2018, we set some measure as part of a roadmap to make France regain its attractiveness, because we won't lie, we had a lack of attractiveness those last years, and we need to catch up with the most competitive countries in Europe and obviously out of Europe. Our aim was to ensure rapid patient access to innovations, support research and development, and boost the attractiveness of France as pharma hub. We have made some progress in 3 years. We have made some progress as a general through all the sectors, economic sectors, because we reduced the corporate taxes, and we will carry on reducing corporate taxes in the coming years, and we reduce also social security contributions. We increased the flexibility of work, which is more or less not very well known by foreign investors, but it has been done, and we have some figures to prove it. We developed new training policies, because we do know that the training and competencies is a key asset of a country now, in a very know-how culture and competitive economy. And we supported the research tax credit, which greatly benefits to the health sector. We simplified the industrial property schemes that are often too heavy for SMEs, and we increased at the same time the protection of innovations. We are also mobilizing grant systems for research with the Public Investment Bank. But I do know, and I do acknowledge, we need to go forward, and this is exactly what we aim at doing. The temporary authorization for use will be rationalized and simplified in the budget bill for 2021 this autumn. The waiting time for patient access to new medicine has been reduced, but we need to go further again. Our objective is simple: 100% of the files need to be studied in less than 2 months to be at the European standards. And concerning the drug prices in France, which is clearly the thing that foreigners don't like in our system, we decided to reduce by 300 million euro in 2021 the amount of economies on drugs, and we are working on a framework which takes into account industrial challenges and security of supply, so that we can have the right level of price, taking into account the fact that you are making some effort to produce in France and to ensure supply to France. COVID-19 highlighted the role of health sector and led us to adapt our priorities. The pandemic highlighted the role of the health tech sector among the stakeholders and people, from the innovation involved in the detection of treatment of the virus to the digital services and equipment the whole health and care workforce are now using. Health tech has been and will be a cornerstone of our future. Health tech has driven important changes in the way we cure people today. In maybe just 3 months, we totally changed, for instance, the way the GP are managing their contacts with the people. And I think the figure is more than 150,000 video consultations per week, when we stand, far less in February. So Mind is changing and culture is changing, and we see that it is working well. So we need to accelerate, and this is a great takeaway of this crisis, because there are always opportunities in crisis, and we need to seize them now. We see also how artificial intelligence helps us to simulate how the pandemic is evolving, how enabling doctors to monitor remote wards, helping care staff to carry out their jobs, which are so physically and emotionally intensive and vital to our society because of those new technologies. The tech revolution in the social care sector is just beginning, and COVID-19 has accelerated the rate of change, and tech businesses have risen to the unique challenges faced in social care. Due to the COVID-19, we set new priorities to our agenda. This crisis is the occasion for us to leverage on our strengths and also to remediate our weaknesses. One of our strengths is the performance of the health industry sector. It has been shown during this pandemic. We reacted quickly to adapt ourselves as an administration, and we proved it was manageable to give authorization very quickly when it was needed, and with a real level of, I would say, work done by the regulation authorities. So it was not a question of quality of the work of the regulation authorities. It was a question of we wanted to deliver those authorizations, so we managed to work quickly and to align all the people around the table to give those authorizations. So it is manageable, and we can do it more quickly now, and we need to do so. And on the other hand, our industry successfully adapted its production tools to face the emergency and proved to be far more agile as we would have thought. But one of our weaknesses is our excessive reliance on intermediate products. That's why we are working hard to set new industrial sites in France and in Europe by simplifying all the administrative processes. We want to secure strategic resources needed in the health industry to be able to build a dynamic approach of our industrial production to face new risks. In our national recovery plan, our top priority for health tech sector is to stimulate innovation, development, and production in France. As you may know, we are mobilizing 100 billion euro in our recovery plan for the French economy with 3 priorities. The first one is around the Green Deal or the green transition with 30 billion euro. The second one is the reinforcement of the competitiveness of our country and resilience of the French economy with 34 billion euros. And the third one is around skills, social and territorial cohesion with 36 billion euros. But the last one is also around health sector, because cohesion means investing in health sector on all the territories of France and not only in the huge cities and waiting for the people to come to the huge cities to find the right level of support. 6 billion euro are allocated to the healthcare infrastructure. More than 20 billion euro will be allocated to innovation and R&D, and 7 billion euro to the tech sector. So clearly, the health sector will benefit from this amount dedicated to innovation. The health industry will benefit also from a permanent reduction of taxes on businesses amounting to 10 billion euro per year. So this is clearly a great move for us. You may say, but the level of taxes was very high and it will not converge to the lowest level of taxes in Europe, but clearly we are setting the path to become more competitive on this aspect. And I would say, point taken, message received, and we will carry on alleviating all the red tape and all the tax burden on our companies investing in France. 1 billion euro will be invested to favor the relocation of industrial production in France. And one of the key sector which is focused is health industry. We are also pushing these priorities at the European scale. France is leading with Germany a global project for industrial cooperation across Europe. We are developing new important projects of common European interest. So this is those IPCEI that helps us to build facilities and capabilities in specific innovation sectors in which we invest together, states, governments, local authorities, and companies to build new innovative markets in our country. There is also momentum in Europe to transform the health sector and to increase investments in it. And we will achieve this by targeting the right companies with the most innovative value. This is clearly what we have in mind, and I suppose that Thierry Breton shared that point with you, because this is clearly one of his key ecosystems he wants to thrive, to develop. At the end of the day, there are key challenges facing our whole economy, and we are fully aware that the health tech sector is not immune to this. But in the same time, there is incredible innovation happening across France with all the assets to make success. Just as you are at the very heart of our struggle against COVID-19, you must be at the forefront of our economic recovery too. And together, we will help carry us through this current crisis into, I hope, a brighter future. Be sure that you will have the full support of the French government. And when I say the French government, it's not only the Ministry of Finance and Economy, but this is also the Ministry of Health, this is also the Ministry of Territories, this is also the Ministry of all the different sectors, because we do believe altogether that this is a key priority for our country, for obvious health arguments, but also for economic objectives. Thank you for being there. Thank you for having an interest regarding France. And thank you for your attention, and keep safe. Thank you.
Somebody wants to raise some questions to the minister? The first one is more difficult to raise. We have to benefit from the presence of the minister. Don't be ashamed. So, the deduction that we are all very satisfied by today's situation, which is done for our industries, and especially we were very impressed by your intervention and by the intervention of the President of the Republic, because we have the sensation that we are understood, and that the entrepreneurship is at the head of the state. Entrepreneurship is at the government, and that this orientation is quite, I cannot personally say new, but it's quite the very continuation of what we aim to succeed altogether. A new industrial, digital, and successful industry, especially in health, and in one or two other sectors with our digital sensitivity. Thank you.
I have a comment, maybe not a question, but it's interesting. When we set out to do this HTID with France Biotech and the whole ecosystem, system. It was about trying to reproduce here in France something that the whole industry goes to, which is the JP Morgan conference in San Francisco in January. Well, the JP Morgan conference will happen, but it's all digital, which means none of us will go there, which we have been doing for the last 20 years. So in a way, here we are here, respecting social distancing and wearing the mask and everything, but at least we're able to share and meet each other. I think that's in a way, I see this, the pun is, it's a good moment to think that actually what is not happening in the US right now could actually happen here in France. And your presence and, from Thierry Breton, also the European, this is France, but we're talking about Europe here. And then Thierry Breton made this comment, the president made this comment, you are here. I think it's really great for us to see that the support is behind us. We need it. I think we know what we need to do as an industry, and we're all gearing towards doing it. But I think it's a moment in time. All of us have been in this business for a long time. But if you think about the quality of the entrepreneurs in particular that are now leading companies, I think you're right to be optimistic. And we are very optimistic that we could, we have, Sanofi as of course, a leading company in the field, but there's hundreds and hundreds of companies, private, public, that are there to promote this business. So again, I just wanted to, as a participant in this industry, thank you for your presence and say that I think you're right to be optimistic as you are.
Thank you very much. I really believe also in serendipity. That is, I know that kind of meetings help to build new relationships and to find new partners, and this is also what is at stake today. We do know that we have room for improvement, but we are clearly on the path, and we don't pretend to be what we are not. So we are optimistic, obviously, because if you are not optimistic, you will never achieve anything. But we do know that we have a lot of things to deliver, but we will deliver because we are really dedicated to deliver. We can discuss on the different measures taken in the Strategic Council for Health Industries, and all were not delivered yet. But you can count on our president to put it on the table and to say, when will it be delivered? I want it to be in the budget. I want this to be followed. And I think this is the right approach. And clearly, the situation, which is not positive from a pure economic point of view, helps to support all actions for the health industry. Because people know now that they need to have productions in Europe. They need to have production in France. And that some, red tape or precautions, etc., are also barriers to these objectives. And that they need to have another mindset if they want this to be achieved.
Aux mains, oui. Pas très pratique, puis après je vais...
Merci infiniment de votre présence, Rémi Charrier du Fonds européen d'investissement. J'avais une question pour vous. On est dans un domaine où on constate que la recherche en Europe et les startups et les entreprises font des choses merveilleuses, en fait. Elles demandent à être accompagnées et en réalité, le projet qu'on vous présente aujourd'hui, c'est un des éléments, en fait. Cela dit, on s'aperçoit que quand elles arrivent à un certain niveau, une certaine taille, niveau de croissance, etc., elles peuvent faire malheureusement quelque part l'objet d'acquisition de la part d'autres pays. Alors je dis malheureusement ou heureusement parce que ça peut être aussi une bonne nouvelle. En fait, ça peut leur permettre de croître encore plus, d'être encore plus présentes, je dirais pas seulement en Europe, mais aussi dans d'autres pays. Mais on ressent quand même une certaine inquiétude sur ces sujets-là. Évidemment, on pourrait parler des États-Unis ou de la Chine, qui sont des grands marchés, et donc des endroits sur lesquels croître est peut-être beaucoup plus rapide, beaucoup plus facile, alors que l'Europe est un peu divisée, segmentée dans ses différentes juridictions. Qu'est-ce que, à votre avis, qu'est-ce qu'il faudrait faire, en fait? Quelles sont les mesures qu'on pourrait prendre pour mettre à disposition de ces sociétés-là des moyens encore plus importants pour leur permettre de croître à la rigueur en Europe, en fait?
qu'au bout d'un moment, c'est un petit peu exagéré. Voilà. Si ça vous va. Voilà, pardon. Voilà, vous partez. Pardon. Parfait.
Je vais le prendre, parce que je vais dire quand même un petit mot.
Voilà. Très bien. Il est très bien.
So I will try to answer in English, maybe for everybody to take part to the answer. The question is around how there are a lot of innovation in Europe. There are some very interesting startups, and they are trying to develop. And at a point, when they reach a certain scale, then they are bought by other countries, mainly the United States and China. And how could we set some policies to ensure that those companies may develop in Europe? Sometimes you mention it, it's not bad that they go to the US market, to the Chinese market, because it helps to them to develop in huge market instead of being in a small market in Europe and then trying to reach the second market, the third market, etc. So what could we do? I would say there are three things. The first one is to accompany those companies in scaling up, because there is also a question of how to mentor, how to give them hints to develop in the right direction. And to be honest, when you discuss with the management of those companies, they say most of the time, you know, I don't go to the US market not only because it's a good price or it's a good market, but also because the venture capitalists or the people in charge there, they do know the business and they will give me a lot of good advice that will help me to develop more quickly than in Europe or in France. So first answer is to be better, is to develop the competencies in how to accompany those startups. Second level of answer is to build a market in Europe that will acknowledge the value of those companies. As you know, we don't have any NASDAQ, or it cannot be compared. When you go to IPO in France, it's not always fantastic. Not always. Let's put it in those words. And we really need to develop a knowledge, even to have the right experts that are able to value the company and that developing research regarding those companies, like you have in the US. And I think this is a second element of answer. And the third element of answer, and to develop also an ecosystem of investors that are keen to invest in those companies. This is exactly what the TB report tries to develop. TB is a prominent deputy or member of parliament in France, and he offers to 10 or 15 measures. I don't have exactly that in mind, but given impetus to develop the new investors and market. So we need to switch the way we invest in France. And the third point is to build a real single market in Europe. Clearly, an access to the US market is an access to 350 million people. An access to the French market is an access to 67 million people, and with low prices, we all know that. So if you can build an access to the European market with 450 million people, and an acceptable price, maybe not as high in other countries, but acceptable price, that will greatly help those companies to develop. So I think that are the three elements on which we need to build an action plan. And this is what we are doing.
So, thank you very much.
Je crois qu'il y avait un monsieur là, someone in the floor.
Thank you very much. I would never think I have the courage to ask a question in the forum, but let me ask a provoking question. Earlier today, Thierry Breton announced support for this initiative, VCOE. That's a first-of-kind pan-European network between life sciences, venture firms, and corporates. So overall, this is a financial vehicle that is able to boost the investments in life science for 200 million euros. And you were talking before about national plans that France has. We have fantastic European Commission proposal of 7.5 to 50 billion euros spread across the countries. And now countries are coming up with their proposals how to put the money into action. Would you think it is completely not possible if, for instance, France could pave the way of putting, let's say, small token to that program? 50 million euros, let's say, out of the all billions that France has. And let's imagine that this 50 million could be multiplied by 27 countries that would follow France. What we could have in Europe, pan-European, 1.5 billion euro fund to support life sciences from the very early stage until the IPO and even post-IPO stage. I mean, is it something like pie in the sky, or can it really happen because we can together deliver on things? Thank you.
I would say yes and no. Yes, of course, we could. And this is exactly what we have to discuss in the coming weeks at the European level. That is how to build common capabilities to invest all together and to have more strength and to meet with the level of ambition of other markets. When you look at the figures of what's happening in the US, what's happening in China, if we stay at the national level, we will not catch up. We will not manage. And within 10 years, in 10 years, we will be out of the market. So there is clearly a need for building those common vehicles to invest and to take some risks and to help new businesses to develop in Europe. I believe this is manageable. I believe that there is a momentum for that, because when I discuss with my counterparts in Germany, in Austria, in Italy, even in Sweden, they share the fact that yes, we need to be stronger in Europe. Yes, we need to take some risks altogether. And yes, health sector is clearly one of the top priorities when we discussed about industry. I would say there is two priorities: health on the one hand and a green transition on the other hand. So there is, once again, there is a path, but this is know that we are playing all together, and there is a need to really push that approach at the European level. So I think it's not easy to achieve when you see the governance of European institutions. It takes time, you have to discuss, the people they are always thinking of what does it mean for my country, and I do that, like the other, I'm discussing on a European project, but I always have in mind, what does it mean for my country? Do you have more money than if I do that or that? But at the end of the day, I feel that there is some kind of common feeling that if we don't seize the opportunity now, and especially in the relaunch plan we set and we are discussing now, that will be a missed opportunities. So let's talk together next year, I hope, or within the next 2 coming years, and maybe we will deliver what you are explaining. And I think it will be a really great idea to show our commitment, but also to build partnerships that will help also to build a single market. Yeah, monsieur.
I have a question. You are working a lot of vehicles to speed up products to the market and innovation, but in terms in terms of reimbursement and market access, what you plan to do at European level, because legislation is highly fragmented and there are a lot of hurdles to bring a product everywhere in Europe.
So, yes, the legislation is fragmented. In France, there is, once again, room for improvement to alleviate all the red tape. And this is what we are tackling now, year by year, and with a list of objectives and KPI to follow up that we are delivering or not. So I believe that we will have some improvement in the coming PLFSS, which is our budget for social security. And you know, you see this young girl here; she is struggling every day to ensure that things are moving in the right direction. When it comes to the European market, we may also have a common approach, but at this stage, I would leave it to my health colleague to discuss on that, because it's not completely, I would say, there are some impacts that are not only industrial, even if I see what kind of industrial impact it has, and I will favor this, generally, this idea. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your coming. So I think today we receive some positive messages, and I am very pleased because your message, the President's message, Thierry Breton, and so on, I think we can believe that there is a light for the healthcare ecosystem. And thank you very much for all. It's a great day today. Thank you.